Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that everything you've spent years learning in school, university, or your career has suddenly become almost worthless. Not because you forgot it, not because it no longer matters, but because a machine can now do it faster, better, and almost for free. For many of us, ChatGPT feels like the ultimate cheat code. Homework gets done in seconds, emails write themselves, languages are translated instantly, workflow becomes automated, problems get solved with a single prompt. Artificial intelligence has officially entered our daily lives, and if we're being honest, it's incredibly convenient. We are the first generation in human history growing up alongside technology that can write, reason, create, and communicate on demand. But while we're enjoying how much easier life has become, an invisible crisis may already be unfolding in the background. Millions of people use ChatGPT every single day. And while everyone debates which jobs AI might replace, very few people are asking a much more important question. What happens when AI stops replacing work and starts replacing thinking? Because the greatest danger of ChatGPT isn't that it becomes smarter than us. The greatest danger is that we become comfortable being less intelligent. But what does intelligence actually mean? Your brain was built for a struggle. Human beings don't learn through convenience. We learn through effort. Think about the most important skills you've developed throughout your life. Walking, reading, writing, learning a language, building a career. None of it was easy. None of it happened at the push of a button. Every skill was built through mistakes, through repetition, through frustration, through the feeling of not being good enough yet, but wanting to improve. And that's exactly how the brain develops. For decades, neuroscientists have known that learning occurs when the brain is forced to work, not when we simply consume information, but when we actively process it, reflect on it, and apply it ourselves. That's why we remember things better when we solve problems on our own. That's why we learn more from mistakes than from perfect solutions. The struggle isn't an obstacle to learning. The struggle is the learning process. And this is exactly where ChatGPT changes the rules. Because ChatGPT removes the struggle. And when the struggle disappears, so does a large part of the learning process. The illusion of knowledge. Perhaps the biggest problem with AI isn't ignorance. It's the illusion of knowledge. Imagine asking ChatGPT to explain quantum physics. Within seconds, you receive a beautifully structured answer. Everything sounds logical. Everything sounds convincing. Everything sounds easy to understand. And suddenly, you feel like you've learned something. But have you really? Could you explain it to someone else? Could you answer critical questions about it? Could you apply that knowledge to a completely new problem? Most of the time, the answer is no. Psychologists call this phenomenon the illusion of competence. It describes the cognitive phenomenon in which people believe they possess more knowledge and skills than is actually the case. They confuse recognition and superficial understanding with genuine development and profound understanding. And AI supercharges this effect. Because never before in human history has knowledge been so accessible. Never before have answers arrived so quickly. Within seconds, we can get explanations for almost anything. The problem is that access to information feels a lot like understanding. And as a result, we often feel smarter than we've actually become. But what happens when this goes even further? When we outsource thinking. Humans have always used technology to make life easier. Cars replaced long walks. Calculators replaced mental arithmetic. Computers replaced paperwork. But AI is fundamentally different. Because it doesn't replace physical labor, it replaces cognitive effort. And that's exactly why it has the potential to become dangerous. The more powerful AI becomes, the more tempting it becomes to hand over more and more responsibility. Writing, research, planning, analysis, problem-solving, decision-making. At first, this feels like incredible progress, and in many ways it is. But every skill that gets outsourced becomes weaker over time. When GPS navigation became common, many people lost their sense of direction. Not because they became less intelligent, but because they stopped exercising the skill. Now, imagine the same thing happening to critical thinking. What happens if an entire society does this? This is where the conversation becomes truly interesting, because this is no longer about individuals. It's about society as a whole. Imagine an entire generation growing up with AI. AI generates the ideas, solves the problems, writes the assignments, or summarizes the information. For the first time in human history, people may be able to complete intellectual tasks without developing the intellectual abilities behind them. Schools will continue handing out diplomas, but perhaps they'll produce fewer independent thinkers. The internet will be flooded with content, yet genuine creativity may become increasingly rare. And here's the paradox. We may produce more information than ever before, while understanding less of it. This could create a completely new form of inequality, not between rich and poor, not between educated and uneducated, but between people who use AI as a tool and people who become dependent on it. Science is starting to sound the alarm. At this point, you might be thinking, interesting theory, but is there actually any evidence for this? That's exactly what I wondered. And recently, researchers have started investigating this question. The results are surprisingly concerning. In 2025, researcher Michael Gerlich examined the relationship between AI usage and critical thinking. More than 600 participants were studied. The findings revealed that people who used AI more frequently tended to score lower on measures of critical thinking. But there was another important discovery. The more people relied on AI, the more likely they were to outsource cognitive tasks to technology. Psychologists call this cognitive offloading, the process of transferring mental effort to external systems. When you're using a calculator or a navigation app, that's usually harmless. But when you start outsourcing your ability to evaluate arguments, understand complex ideas, or form independent opinions, the consequences become much more serious. You become easier to manipulate. You stop practicing critical thinking. And if we blindly trust AI without questioning its answers, we risk becoming passengers instead of pilots. We may still arrive at a destination, but we no longer understand how the plane is flying. And this relationship turned out to be one of the strongest findings in the entire study. The youngest participants used AI the most, relied on it the most, and scored the lowest in critical thinking. Now, this doesn't mean AI is making people stupid, but it does suggest that dependence on intelligent systems may come with hidden costs. And that's not all. Researchers at MIT wanted to understand what actually happens inside the brain while using ChatGPT. Participants were asked to write essays. One group used ChatGPT, another group used search engines. A third group worked entirely without digital assistance. Meanwhile, researchers measured brain activity. The results surprised even many experts. Participants using ChatGPT showed the lowest levels of neural activity. They struggled more to remember their own writing afterward, and their essays tended to be much more similar to one another. Researchers described a state that could be interpreted as a form of mental passivity. This doesn't mean ChatGPT destroys the brain, but it suggests that when AI performs a large portion of the thinking process, the brain simply has less work to do. And that raises an important question. If we need less mental effort than ever before, what happens to the abilities that are built through effort? The winners of the AI age. This may be the most important question of the entire AI revolution. Not, can AI think like a human, but what happens to humans when AI does the thinking for them? Many people believe the future belongs to those who use AI the most, but that's only partially true. Because AI is making average performance less valuable. Average writing, design, analysis or ideas, machines can already generate all of those, which means the truly valuable skills are becoming something else. Judgment, creativity, independent thinking, problem solving, originality. The very abilities that emerge when human beings think, reflect, and challenge themselves. The winners of the future won't be the people who write the best prompts. They'll be the people who can maintain critical distance while everyone else is copying answers. What's the conclusion? Does ChatGPT really destroy your brain? The answer is simple. No, at least not directly. Just as calculators didn't destroy mathematics, the real problem isn't the technology itself. The real problem is our dependence on it. AI can make us smarter. It can make us faster. It can expand our capabilities. But only if we use it as a tool, not as a replacement for thinking. Because every time you hand a task entirely over to AI, you lose another opportunity to train your own mind. And abilities that aren't used eventually disappear. The future doesn't belong to the people who use AI the most. The future belongs to the people who continue questioning, thinking, and challenging ideas even in a world where AI provides instant answers. So, I'll leave you with one final question. Are you using ChatGPT as a tool for your mind? Or is ChatGPT slowly becoming a replacement for it? Let me know in the comments. Has AI made you smarter or just more comfortable?